Hey everybody, Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a quick unboxing and first look at the Sony Cyber-shot AG-R2. This is a grip priced at $14.99 that is compatible with the original RX100 as well as the Mark II and Mark III. This may be more about marketing than actually updating the original AG-R1, but either way I still consider this a must-have accessory for any RX100 owner, whichever generation you actually have. And that's because even though the RX100, the Mark II that followed it, and now the Mark III really does represent, in their own right, each camera, the best pocketable point-and-shoot cameras ever made, and in some instances, actually, I would say arguably one of the best cameras ever made just because of the quality and capability that it packs in its form factor, which really can outclass so many different cameras in different classes. Because of that sensor lens pairing, the only thing that was really overlooked was handling itself. And in fact, because it's such a great camera, many consumers were willing to overlook the fact that handling was not a strong suit of the RX100. And that is where third-party manufacturers started to make grips. Sony saw that was a successful strategy and basically responded with the AG-R1. Now, the AG-R1 worked, as I mentioned, really well, and in fact, the AG-R1 may work perfectly well with this camera right here, the Mark III. I don't have another AG-R1 to test on this, but I can say this about design as I get rid of the box and just get right to the grip, that the lens alignment, or rather positioning, on the Mark III has changed. So there is some possibility, and that's why I decided to pick up the brand new R2, there is some possibility that this will have a better fit with the brand new Mark III, since it is the only one that has a different actual placement of the lens in the 3 generations of RX100. So let's get the paperwork out of the way. Let's get the grip out of the package. Now, before you apply something like this, you do want to make sure to clean off the entire area because this is using a traditional adhesive, almost like a double-sided tape, a 3M style in this case, not 3M. But the grip looks very similar. I'm not going to be applying it in this video. I'll just be updating because there's really no tutorial involved. It's very simple. You just peel off the actual tape cover and stick it on. But as you can see here, I've got the Mark II and the original grip. Again, this is the AG-R1, and they are definitely different. I mean, substantially different in size. This is much smaller, so that definitely speaks to the fact that Sony is going for compatibility, not necessarily the best functionality. So it is a one-size-fits-all solution. Right now, when we just put it right there on the camera and I get these side by side, you can see it does look like it is a perfect fit for the Mark III. So my theory seems to have panned out here, and you'll probably notice in the video, again, the alignment of the lens slightly different from generation to generation. Keep in mind the Mark II over here on the right has the exact same lens centering on the body as the original RX100. So in many ways, the original R1 is probably still preferable for previous generations, especially since it's less expensive. I believe you can pick it up for around $10 now. But if you have the Mark III, it definitely looks like this is the one to go with. For the $5 price difference, I don't see why you wouldn't want the perfect fit. Now, that's not the case necessarily with something like the brand new LCJ RXF, the jacket-style case for the Mark III and every other model. There, Sony seems to have created a one-size-fits-all that doesn't necessarily fit the Mark III the best. But when it comes to the brand new R2, it does seem like this is the better fit. You can also see they've, at least it appears, it may be a bit of an optical illusion for me, it seems like the entire grip got smaller in general. And that may not be just in order to give you a perfect fit here with the Mark III, but also that was their way, or the compromise, I should say, in order to make it so that they could have a grip that would be compatible with all 3 generations. So I think this is a combination of consolidation for Sony in terms of just margins, as well as making things simpler for the consumer. But of course, the reason I'm sharing this with all of you is that that fit and finish is going to vary, and any customer out there, any of you that's been buying an RX100 in the past, or any camera in general, knows that an accessory like this, especially with Sony, since I did just mention the case issue, may or may not fit different models better than others. So it looks like this is the right one for the Mark III. I will be updating on my impressions, but from what at least I expect from my experience with the rather, I said R1 before. I'll be updating on the R2, but from what I've experienced with the original R1, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, this is really a must-have, because when it comes to gripping this camera, it's a far more natural experience to be holding it. You actually have a place to put your hand, whereas otherwise, when this grip isn't here, you're just dealing with a metallic body that really gives you nothing to leverage the camera when you're holding it. I mean, clearly you can operate without it, but it's far more natural to actually have something to grip, especially since the RX100 lineup is a fairly hefty camera despite its small form factor. But that's pretty much it. Just wanted to give a quick update for those of you interested in the brand new AG-R2, and if it really is that much different than what it is actually replacing. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. And of course, as usual, please feel free to subscribe. Later.